Thank you, Mirella. I hope I pronounced that right. Welcome to this online tour. I would have liked to do it in person, but hey, there's something going on in the world that doesn't give us the possibility anymore. A little bit about me. I've been working with Oracle since about '97. That was just mainly SQL developing queries, etc. I started working in PL SQL in '99, and that's what I've been doing ever since. Since 2009, I started talking about Oracle and SQL and PL SQL. In 2011, I became an ACE. Last year, I became an ACE director. And that's mostly because I'm talking a lot on all these different conferences. I also create plugins for PL SQL Developer, which is my favorite tool. And I sometimes blog on my own blog. I had a couple of articles in allthingsoracle.com, but they died. But I found the new link for the articles. And I had my own column on OTAG magazine, but it also died. So I put the columns on my own blog, on my own website. If you have any publication you want to get rid of, Mirella, you're talking about Our World. If you want to get rid of that, ask me to write for it, because chances are you'll get you'll lose the publication sooner than later. These are my contact details. I'll send out the PDF of the presentation, so there's no need to write all of these down. Like I said, I'm an Oracle ACE. I've been in the program for almost 10 years now. If you know somebody you want to nominate, it says here nominate yourself or someone you know, but I'd rather think you don't want to nominate yourself, because it's like I don't have any friends and nobody likes me, but I want to be in the program. Go to acenomination.oracle.com and then nominate someone you know. You've all heard probably a lot of times during the tour that Oracle has a new, always free tier for the Oracle Cloud infrastructure. Check it out at oracle.com/cloud/free. Okay, so topic of today. I have to change something here. The topic of today, a collection is a collection no matter how small. Like I said, I've been in the Oracle world since '97. Oracle started out in 1977. And in '92, they came out with Oracle 7, which was actually the 6th version. Back then, it was a database which could, before Oracle 7, it was a database which could mainly do SQL tables, do your queries on them. But in Oracle 7, they introduced PL SQL to the database. And with the introduction of PL SQL, why is my clicker not working? With the introduction of PL SQL in the database, we got a whole new set of possibilities. We got a complete programming language inside the Oracle database with all of the things you know from every programming language. All the scalars, the numbers, the varchars, even a Boolean. You can write your programs using all of these different types of variables. They also introduced collections, and a collection is a homogeneous set of values. They're all the same type, so it's a group of numbers or a group of varchars or even a group of records. But you cannot mix and match them. You cannot have a collection which holds both numbers and varchars at the same time, unless they are in a record which has possibilities for both of the values. Back in Oracle 7, they were called PL/SQL tables, hence the PT in the name of the type. And you had to create or declare a type, and it was a table of whatever data type you want to use, indexed by binary integer. And then after that, you create a variable based on the type, just as you would create a variable based on a number, variable based on a varchar. Now you create a variable based on your PL/SQL type, PL/SQL table type. Excuse me. And then after that, you just start filling it up. Put a name on position 1 in the collection, and then you don't have to do them sequentially. You can just put in something at position 42. It doesn't have to be dense. It can be sparse like this. If you put in a name at position 10, it'll match that in between the numbers 1 and 42. You can even use functions. So you can ask the collection, how many items do you have in your collection? That's the dlnames.count over here. Because this value is evaluated before the statement is complete, it has values.count is 3 at this moment. We got 1, 10, and 42. That's 3 items. So if we add one more, then we put in a new record at index number 4. It doesn't have, don't have to be positive numbers. You can also use negative numbers, like I do over here. And then after that, you can just display the contents of the collection, using the first to go to the first item in the collection. And then while the index is not nil, you can just display everything and go to the next item in the collection. I have been playing around with this. I even found myself an Oracle 7 database. I've created a virtual box of it, so I can display, I can show you that this is the way it really works. This is the code that has been, that I just showed you guys. And yeah, this is how it works on a VirtualBox Oracle 7.3. As you could see, filling up the collection manually takes a lot of work. And since we have most of our data in tables, we can use queries to fill up the collections easy. In Oracle, let's start up by creating a couple of tables. I'll use these tables during the entire presentation. We got a relation types table and netmcdot. Netmcdot is the mayor of Whoville, which is part of the Horton Hears a Who movie, which this talk is inspired by. We put in some relation types, and we add a couple of characters to the relation to the netmcdot table. And if we create a cursor to select the first names from the table where the type is 18, that is the daughters of this mayor netmcdot, we can then open the cursor and loop through the records, fetching everything into our collection. Exit when we didn't find anything, and we're out of the loop. And since we're filling the collection from count +1. So that's the first one goes into the position 1, second in position 2. We can use a simple for loop to display the contents of the collection. We can go loop from first to last because everything in between the first and the last one will be filled up. You can also use collections to as parameters in your functions or in your programs. This makes it a lot easier to transfer a lot of values in one pass instead of putting in a lot of different parameters, as long as they're all the same type. So if you use a collection of records, you can just pass just about anything to another program. Oracle 8, actually, I didn't do much with that. Actually, I don't think I even saw it running because pretty fast after that, we went to Oracle 8i. And Oracle 8i introduced 2 new types of collections. First of all, the PL/SQL tables were renamed to index by tables because of the index by binary integer. And they introduced the nested table type, NT, and the V-array. The V-array stands for varying array, but it's the least varying one of the 3 collections I can see. To create a nested table, of course, you have to declare a type. This time, nested table. Types names nested table is table of varchar 2. And because we don't see the index by binary integer, we know it's a nested table. If there's an index by binary integer, we have an index by table. There are a couple of differences when you create a variable based on a nested table. You have to initialize the collection before you can use it. So we have to use a so-called call it the constructor function with the name of the type. And after you've initialized the function of the collection, you have to extend the collection to make room for items. If you can extend by 1, 2, whatever number you want. In this case, I'm extending it by 5, so I make room for 5 items right away. That also tells me I got to use the indexes 1 to 5. Those are the only ones I can use. If I try to put something in index number 6, I'll get an error. If I put something in index -1, I'll get an error. So I have to fill up the collection using the different values. In this case, I ordered the not the inserting of the rows, but I can do this in any order. It'll just fill up the different items. And if I want to display it, because it's a dense collection, I can go from first to last and display all the items in the collection. In Oracle 7, we could use a cursor to fill up the collection. We had to do a fetch and put the item in the collection and do that in loop. Oracle 8i gave us a bulk collect, and a bulk collect gives us all the rows in one pass. So it'll fetch all the names from the cursor in one pass and put it into the collection, the lnames collection. And since this is always filled up densely starting at position 1, we can either use a loop from first to last, or we can even use a loop from 1 to count to loop through the collection. Be aware though that if you fetch data into a collection, it'll be fetched into memory. If you fetch 100 megabytes of data, it'll use up 100 megabytes of memory. That's probably not a problem when you're on your own laptop or on your own machine working. But chances are you're not the only one in your database, and you're creating software that gets used by a lot of users. So if you fill up your collections with 100 meg each time and you got like 1,000 users, chances are your memory will be blown up. Luckily, Oracle has a solution for this. You can limit the number of rows being fetched every pass. And in this case, I'm limiting it to 4, but you can choose 100 or 1,000, whichever suits you best. For the rest, it's pretty much the same, except that you now have to loop through the cursor because you're limiting the number of rows. You have to go back to fetching every time, a lot of times, until you don't get any more rows. Either you can do an exit when the count equals 0, or when your count is less than the limit you specified. If there's no rows returned, there will be no error. There will be no data found error like we get in the normal cursor. It'll just return an empty collection. So that's why I also check for if the names.count is greater than 1, or greater than 0, because otherwise I'll run into errors. Up to now, I just displayed just the first name. Let's say we want to see all the different columns in the table. Then I would have to create a couple of nested, or in this case, index by tables, index by and by binary integer, 4 pieces. Then I'll do the cursor selecting all the different fields for the special types. And then after I created the cursor, I also have to create 4 variables to hold the columns coming out of the cursor. And after that, I can just open the cursor, fetch into all these different columns and these different variables, and then go from there. This isn't too much a problem if you're only selecting 4 columns, but if you have to select a result set with a lot of columns, it might be a problem. I don't like typing. It's probably too much typing. Like I said, it would mean defining a lot of collections for all the different scalar variables. Okay. What you can also do is create pipeline or table functions. We create a nested table object type, so in the Oracle database, and we create a function that returns this type, and we can then implement these functions one which just creates the nested table type, extends it, puts in two names in there, and then returns the entire collection. And we can also create a function that selects from a table and then returns that into the collection. And after we've done that, we can call this function as if it was a normal table. So we can do a select column value. The name of the column is always column value. And then we do from table. Table is a table operator. And then we have to cast the function as our nested table type, which is quite a lot of work, but it gets better over time. Remember, in Oracle 9i, index byte tables were renamed again, this time to associative arrays. Probably because they can now also be associated by varchar 2 or by varchars. Instead of just the integers, we can now also index by varchars. This opens up a whole new set of possibilities. You can use names as the index of your collection, and as it was with the collections with the numbers, the order will be done in a alphabetical order. The ASCII order will be there. If you want to display everything here, there is no way you can do a simple for loop. You always have to go first to last, because this is always a sparse collection. There is no way you can do a first to last for loop. Remember when we had to bulk collect or fill up collections with from a lot of columns in the table? In Oracle 9i, you can now also add a create a nested table type or associative array based on a row type, and then you can do the cursor we did in Oracle 8 before. But now we just have to create one single variable. We can open the cursor and we can fetch directly into the collection of records. So instead of creating all the different variables with all the different collection types, we can fetch it into a single collection of records. In Oracle 8, we could create a table function, or actually a function that returns a collection. In Oracle 9i, we can create these pipelines. Again, we create a type, nested table type in the Oracle database, and then we create a function, a package, which has two functions, which are pretty much the same, except for the pipeline keyword here. And on the implementation of the package, we can now create a row, and then as soon as that's done, we can pipe the row out of the function. That means it gets sent to the calling SQL statement in this case. If you and at the end you just return nothing but control, because there's nothing to return anymore. Everything is already gone. The function returns the names nested table type, but actually we return the rows. And for the query, we can do the query and a loop, pipe out every row that's in the select set. And we can just select from the table, which is a lot easier than the one with Oracle 8. Select table and then give it the function name. In Oracle 9i, yeah, you could start using the bulk processing. We create a big table, fatmac, which is just actually 10,000 times the number of records in the netbook table. And if we query that, we do a cursor for loop on the fatmac table, we can see it's just about 4.5 seconds to go through all of these records. Using the same tables, but creating a procedure that bulk collects everything into collections, limiting by 10,000 times 10,000 rows at a time, and for the rest, it's doing exactly the same, which isn't too much. We can go down from 4.5 seconds to 1.2 seconds. It just takes a bit more code on our side, but the users will probably love you for this. In Oracle 10G, if we do exactly the same piece of code with exactly the same cursor for loop, it'll execute in almost 0.7 seconds. Partly because Oracle is faster, partly because my machine was doing less than, but also because Oracle does a lot of optimizing. Because if we take the code that was pretty much faster the previous time, we still get a bit faster, but only almost 0.6. So that's, Oracle does a lot of work for us. If you have a cursor for a loop, Oracle will just rebuild it into something like what you see here. Probably a lot smarter than what I can come up with, but it'll come up with a version which fetches it in bulk and doing it in sets of 10,000, I think. I don't know the exact number. So if you you don't have to go back and change all the cursor for loops into simple loops with the bulk collect. Probably Oracle will be fast, will make it fast enough. If you want to have every last possibility, then you'll have to do some work. I have to check here. What we can also do in Oracle 10 is, instead of creating a nested table type outside of the package, we can create it inside of the package and then just use that nested table type as a return value for our functions, for our table functions. So that gives us a bit more possibilities to do to create table functions instead of creating all the different objects in the database. And for the rest, the code will be pretty much the same, except that we're now returning something from the McDot package. Then there's Oracle 11. There were some speed improvements, but there hasn't been very much new functionality in the concerning collections. So yeah, and what we would like to do in Oracle 11 is use the type in the package, and then use that in a select in a cursor inside of the package. That is not possible, unfortunately. You have to create a type in the database again to be able to use that in your cursor for loop. Like what I tried here was to do it in a package and then use that, but you cannot do that. In Oracle 12, this is possible. You can now create your nested table inside of your package and then use that inside your cursor for loop. And you can even use the associative arrays indexed by PLS integer over here. I don't even see that. So you don't have to do the initialization and extending, etc. So that makes it a lot easier to work with. Come on, Oracle 18. Remember how we had to do this in Oracle 7, and creating a collection, an associative array, filling it up, hasn't really changed over the last whatever years, over the last versions, until Oracle 18c. You can now use the qualified expressions. So you can fill up the collection using like a constructor and put something in position 1, position 42, position 10. Be aware though that if we used to use names.count +1 and we ended up with something at number 4, in this case, this gets evaluated before the start of the statement. So names.count +1 ends up overriding the value at position 1. If you want to go even bigger than that, you can create a method, a collection of records where you have the qualified expression for the collection and then the qualified expressions for the different records. This makes it a lot easier for the next one who's gonna go over your code. It's like sort of documenting what you're doing, which is always a good thing. 19C, again, not much new, no really new features. Oracle 19 is the long-time support release of the Oracle database. So everybody should be on there. I think Oracle focused on the stability of the product. So there's not much news on Oracle, on collections. Oracle 20, I haven't really tried it, but I've looked into the documentation. There's going to be a couple of things in the in looping over the collections. For instance, you can use a for loop which just loops over the values of the collection and then just displays those values in order of the collection, of the index of the collection. You probably have seen this or might have seen this in the for all statements, for all values. We can also do an indices of. We can just check and get the indices of the collection. Yeah, 1, 3, and 100. And this is a tricky one. We can use a pair of the collections. We can use a loop of the pairs. And I must say, I haven't been able to play with this yet, so I'm not really sure how it exactly works, but this is what the documentation says. Okay, like I said, this presentation was inspired by the Dr. Seuss movie Heart and His Who, animation done by Blue Sky. You can find more info on articles I've written, which are now on my own blog or on the All Things Oracle site, using these short links. You can also find some info on blogs.oracle.com and of course Oracle Base, and do a search for collections on LiveSQL. And those are my contact details again. And now it's time for the questions. And I see one question in the Q&A. What are the best practices when using collections, especially things to avoid, please? Do's and don'ts. Do's and don'ts. First of all, if you can avoid PL SQL in total, do that. If you can do it in SQL, then please do it in SQL and don't go to PL SQL. But sometimes you have to do stuff in using PL SQL. So you want to use the bulk operations. Don't go fetching row by row one at a time, and don't go inserting or updating or deleting row by row. You want to do this in bulk. And when you're doing bulk collect, especially bulk collect, watch your memory. Use the limit clause, and don't use a limit clause of 4, but use a limit clause of 1,000 or 10,000 or whatever. Whatever suits you. I think that's pretty much where I would want to use collections. I hope that answers your question. Another question. Okay, Babu, I'll come back to you. When is better to use nested tables instead of associative arrays? It's better to use nested tables if you want to do stuff from SQL. If you're staying in PL SQL, associative arrays are a lot, I really mean a whole lot easier to work with. So if I'm doing collections in PL SQL, I'm just using associative arrays. If I have to do stuff from SQL back and forth, I'm using the nested tables just because I have to. Hope that answers your question. Back to Babu. How about error handling when it comes to bulk collect? There is no errors if you select something from the table, bulk collect into a collection, you'll never ever get an error. If there's no data found, where you have the cursor percentage not found, your collection just remains empty. You'll have to check that yourself. There is no errors coming out of a bulk collect. So I hope that answers your question. Anyone else have anything to ask? No?
No.
Okay, then thank you for your attention, and I hope to see you live real soon.